Hey, everyone. What is up? We
Hey
are
guys.
back. Episode 4. Man, it's going by quick, but I'm loving it.
Me too.
Episode 4. Yeah, that's
Wild.
good. That's
Yeah.
dope. I feel like 4 is where you've established this is a thing. We're going to keep it going, like the addiction thing. They say like the first after 3 days, it's easy to break it. Like we've done after 3 pods,
Uh,
it's locked in. That's what they say.
okay. So we
Yeah.
locked it in. Good for us.
Experts, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
exactly.
Experts. Okay.
all the leading podcast experts out there, that this is what they say. I'm just going off of I'm
Hey,
going off of their information.
I love this for us. And I was excited to see like how you would start it too, because I do like to sit back and let you start it and okay, what's he gonna say today?
I like to switch it up. I'm gonna keep trying to switch it up,
I
but I'm
love
gonna
that
have to
for
learn
us.
some new greetings.
Okay.
Then maybe I'll do a cheerio one day, a little British action. We'll see. I'll try and keep it fun, keep it fresh.
Oh, okay. You can probably count on me to giggle every single time. Um,
That's good. I appreciate that. I need that, that reaction.
yeah, yeah.
Otherwise, how are people gonna know I'm so funny?
I don't know. So I guess it's a good thing I'm here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's good to see you. And it is wild. Like it has been. This is our fourth. And I was thinking about it this morning. I'm like, wow, we've lived here for 3 weeks already. And this is the second
Wow.
podcast we've done since we've been in this house. And I was like, wow, that really has gone by super fast.
Yeah, and clearly you're in new digs here in terms of the room for recording. Is this your office you got set up?
Yeah. Yeah. So like
Mhm.
this is it. This is the space now. The furniture is anchored to the walls. Nothing
Hell
is
yeah.
moving. Well, we had to with all the books, so like none of the dogs.
Yeah, pets will do that.
Yeah. So, but this is it. This is the space, and I painted it purple, very light violet because of the energy of the house. Because the work that I do is very spiritual in nature. That was the kind of recommendation with the numerology of the house being an 8 and kind of like a focus on physical success. I wanted to make sure that the spiritual work that I do, I have an environment to maintain the focus of it. I don't know if that makes sense. And numerology is not my like number one modality, but it is something that I find to be fascinating. And so when we were, running the numbers for the house and looking at like, okay, here are the characteristics of this type of house. Is this going to be a good fit for us? Yes.
Mhm.
And also be very mindful of creating a space that supports the spiritual component of, I guess, the work. So that's why I painted it purple. Ooh, what was that?
I think one of the dogs came in.
Something
I
fell.
just saw the slowly open. But I like that. I think that makes sense. Also, the color purple is my favorite purple. So just any
Oh,
excuse to paint something purple, I'm down for it.
I love that. Yeah. I think my favorite color is green these days after so many years of being where it's kind of brown. Yeah,
Interesting.
green's my new favorite. So we're loving it.
I like that. I don't think I know anyone who has had brown or has brown as their favorite color. So that's pretty unique.
Well, brown.
I
Where'd you hear
respect that.
brown? Did
Didn't
I
you
say
say your
brown?
favorite color was
I
brown?
said green.
Yeah. I thought you said brown before green.
No, where we lived was brown. And so it made me appreciate the
Ah.
green. I was like, wait, was my favorite color? I mean, I like brown. I
Ah, I see. Okay, okay. I thought you said your favorite color used to be brown, but now it's green. Okay.
Oh, no, I think it used to be. I've gone through a lot of different phases. It was like pink at one point and blue at one point. And honestly, I only ever picked pink because my sister's favorite color was purple, and she said it couldn't be my favorite color, too.
Yeah, siblings will do that.
Yeah, they will. I call dibs on purple because I'm older. You don't get it. And now I live on the opposite side of the country. I do what I want.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's funny how some of those little things we really like kind of take to heart and don't even realize how it does affect us. Like, some kid telling us, "Oh, you shouldn't like this," or like, "Oh, that's not like this." And for the rest of your life. You're just in the back of your head, like, oh yeah, maybe I shouldn't like that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like there was some music I was listening to not too long ago that felt like it was on like the "you shouldn't like this" list, and I'm like, I like it just fine. It wasn't Nickelback, but I know there are people who do like Nickelback. You know? Do you like Nickelback?
I'm not a Nickelback fan. My mom liked them a lot growing up, though, so I would listen to them growing up.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, teach their own, you know, teach their own. I got no qualms with it.
No, and if you like it, you like it. Yeah, so I think it's funny. And it's interesting. I was thinking today, we took the dogs to this place that's like 5 minutes from the house. It's called Strawberry Point Preserve, and it's like a 208 acres of wildlife preserve. And I was thinking about how, and we've talked about this before, how we kind of decide things based on history. And when we lived in California, there was a place that we took the dogs all the time called Kaweah Oaks Preserve. And the preserve, like I thought getting into this preserve in California, it was going to be like all these like beautiful trees and like, this, wonderful, like lush place. That's not what it was
Right.
at all, And it's like, I don't see these oaks that they're talking about preserving, but okay. So it was like very flat and I don't know, brown, like not a ton of trees. And so
Yeah.
we got used to taking the dogs there. So excuse me, we decided we're going to take them down here to this place. It's only like 5 minutes away. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe it'll be like that. But there's obviously more trees here, so it should be a lot more green. We get there, and I tell you what, like the mistake of deciding on things based on history is so entertaining because, like we walked into the path into this preserve, and it's like we're in like Fern Gully, which might have been before your time. Did you ever see that? Okay, so like um Lost in Time, is that an actual movie? I don't know, like Land Before Time, right? So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
we're
Okay, I
okay,
know
yeah.
that.
So like we we walk into this place and it's this like little tiny winding narrow path and it's like, there are all these massive trees on either side and
That's awesome.
ferns growing up everywhere and like a slug the size of my foot and we met the it was massive. I can send you a picture of it just because it was such a big slug.
Oh
It's
boy.
like I didn't even know they got this big. But we even met there's an elk who lives on the island who apparently swam over onto the island and he was looking for another
What?
island and I guess confused his navigation. So we're like walking along the path and then here's this elk. His name is Bruiser. And so we
That's
like
gorgeous.
stood there for a minute and he looked at us and we looked at him. We were, a little ways away and he did not move. And we're like, okay, we're going to turn around and head back. Like, this is our sign that this is enough for today. But but the experience, including the elk, that was a pretty cool thing just because he was so, I don't know, he's just standing there so like majestic and regal and just kind of
Yeah.
like looking at us. But I thought it was really funny about how I had pre-decided based on history what this experience might be
Mm.
like. And then the experience was literally nothing like that. And I was like, ha ha ha, funny way to show yourself. Thank you very much. You know?
Yeah. No, and it's fun like that physical representation of the metaphor or the analogy. And I know
hmm
the guides use it a lot as like stepping into a whole new landscape. And when you've lived in a certain landscape for so long, we get to the point where that's all we can imagine or even want to imagine, right?
hmm
And the first step is again like accepting that the different is possible and that
Yeah.
things can be different and that that is an option, and then having the courage to step into that possibility. And every time the landscape is new and
hmm
gorgeous in ways we couldn't expect, and wonderful in all these incredible ways. And so that's such a apt metaphor, like physical representation of that metaphor.
Yeah. Like, oh, the landscape is literally completely opposite of what it was. And the image that kind of I was doing my daily kind of morning pages after we got back, and the image that I kind of got around that is I've been doing a lot of planting because I feel I don't know this piece of property. I just feel like we want so many pollinators And I felt bad when we cut the grass when we got here because it had all these pretty like wild daisies and, dandelions and stuff. And I felt bad for cutting them. So I've been very, not aggressive, but very focused on planting lots. Like, I'm not planting anything aggressively, but
Ah,
no, it's
get in
actually
there. Grow.
it's actually like literally the opposite. It's, it is hard work like digging into the earth, but it's
Yeah, I
so
was gonna say I
relaxing.
can't see you acting
Not
like
an
that,
aggressive
Carly.
gardener, no.
Yeah.
But very intentionally planting a lot of pollinators. And so because it's so late in the season, I've been getting things that are already pretty like well established. And what's interesting is, you take them out of the pot and getting ready to plant them. And a lot of those things are root bound. And when they're root bound, you really want to take some time and kind of loosen the roots up so that they have the opportunity to kind of spread out. And I'm
Mhm.
noticing as I'm watering things every morning or every other day or whatever, that these plants that I have kind of like spread out, they're really kind of just like really going for it. They're really spreading out. They're really enjoying their new habitats. Now that they have enough space to grow, space to expand, you can see how beautifully and fully they're filling out their pots or their areas that they're being planted. And I'm like, wow, that is such a great kind of analogy for how I've been feeling. Like when we lived in the place where we lived,
Mm.
the frequency is what it is wherever you are. So whatever the frequency is the frequency that you have to work with. And so living where we were, I started feeling like a root bound plant, and I feel like now that we've been planted here, I feel like somebody's taken me and loosened up my ball of
Mm.
roots. And now I'm just kind of like, so that,
Expressing outward.
yeah. I don't know. So that felt really important today, or it felt really timely today, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that. I've been thinking a lot personally about like I felt some resistance, I guess, in my heart chakra, and in that heart energy. And I've been thinking about it because I feel like I have been learning so much recently, and
Hmm.
moving along the path so in such a fun and adventurous and way that's given me a lot of growth so far, and I appreciate that. But I keep feeling kind of this resistance in my heart in some ways. And meditating on it earlier today, I felt almost as if it was like, as things grow, as you expand out, you almost bump up against that shell. That kind of shell that
Mm-hmm.
we uh, kind of accrues over time, unfortunately, as we have those scars, as we have those pains, those traumas. And you don't really notice the shell when you're in that kind of old space, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're within the shell. And so only when you start to expand and grow and open up and, allow love in and out, does that expansion, do you start to feel, oh, there's resistance there. Oh, there's that shell there. And then, the resistance is the realizing that there is something there that I need to break free of, that I need to
Mm-hmm.
let go of, that I need to allow to fall off. And it is that like ability to expand for us to realize where, we might still be potted, or we might be still restricting ourselves
Mm-hmm.
and not allowing ourselves the full amount of growth that we can have.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. I guess I'm sticking to plants today, but I'm like, oh, and
I
sometimes we're
like
not
it.
getting the fertilizer, like sometimes, like vegetable plants, especially like tomatoes and peppers, they're producers and they eat a lot of food. Like they need to be nourished, they need to be fertilized, and so do we. So if we're not doing those things that kind of fertilize us, if we're sitting in a dry root bound pot not getting any fertilizer, like,
Yeah.
then yeah, it definitely makes it hard to see our potential. It definitely makes it hard to kind of break through. So I think this is all really helpful, and I feel like this is going somewhere. I don't know where yet, but
Well, I also feel like part of that is learning how to fertilize yourself, right? I
yeah.
think we live in a culture that's so busy, so tied to outcome and achievement and ideas of success, that
Mm-hmm.
it's hard for us. We may not naturally grow up with a sense of knowing about what
Mm-hmm.
we need to do for ourselves to fertilize our own internal peace, our own internal happiness, our own internal sense of calm, And so I think that is a struggle for a lot of people now that it wasn't ever taught to us in our culture. It wasn't taught
Yeah.
to us by our parents. And in
Nope.
fact, we kind of are given the opposite
Mm-hmm.
of, always do, always, get. And we don't learn how to fertilize ourselves, what we need to water ourselves, what we need to like grow
Yeah.
down and out.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting you you mentioned that. I was thinking the other day, I've had a lot of opportunities because, so we've been here 3 weeks. I've had a lot of opportunities to go out and network and to start like meeting people, and they look like cool people, like-minded, into this very similar stuff. But I just keep getting this whisper of not yet, not yet, not yet. And so it's been fascinating because there's been this kind of tug of war between my ego, who says get out there and network as soon as possible, and the higher part of myself, who says no, you need to rest. Like, you've had this massive expenditure of energy
Mm,
in the, because like all this happened really fast between finding the
yeah.
house, closing on the house, and then moving, and then getting here and unpacking. Like, that was a big push of energy. And so what I have been really leaning into is allowing myself that space to not feel rushed to go out and immediately network and meet people, but to do the things that feel right for me now, getting my hands in the dirt. So I do think maybe we should talk about some of the things that we have learned, because you're exactly right. Like, I didn't learn this stuff from my family. I didn't learn this in school. I learned a lot of this stuff through trial and error, and then a lot of things from my teacher, Diane. So maybe that should be a place that we explore today.
I like that. I like that.
Okay.
Uh,
So what's your, I guess my question
yeah,
is then, yeah,
yeah.
we'll keep it going. Okay. So my question is, if you had to pick like one thing that is
Mm.
absolutely mandatory for you to nurture yourself so that you can feel fertilized, what is that one thing?
I think the one thing is time alone in meditation, time
Okay.
where I can set aside time where I know I'm not going to be disturbed, where I know I'll be alone, and I can sit with myself, I can sit in
Mhm.
silence, I can sit with the divine, and whether that be representations that speak to me of statues of Krishna, or a cross, or beautiful plants, just whatever I can really connect with, and feel that energy of the divine in there. And that time to be able to sit and really be with those three things, like get in touch with my sense of mindfulness, because I have a busy mind kind of
Mhm.
naturally and habitually, and really return to that mindfulness, step back from the thoughts, return to the present moment as much as possible, and then spending time. A part of that is reconnecting with the divine, you know really seeing that in my surroundings, and in who I am, and where I'm at, and making that connection. And then the third would be like sitting in silence with that both, and just allowing the moment and what it is and where I'm at to just be as it is,
Mhm.
and allow the other stuff to kind of fall away. And having that time for myself is really the most important thing. And it's something I'm always trying to give more time to.
Mhm.
And it is hard because there is so many things I want to do, or so many things that will grasp for my attention,
Mhm.
but it really is the most important thing. So that would be my number one. What about you? I'm curious.
So if let me start by saying, if I find myself just completely out of sorts, which occasionally happens, the very first thing that I go back to is, am I drinking water? Like, that is the number one. I know it seems like such a
That's a
silly
good
thing.
one.
Like, after you're like, oh, time connecting with divine, I'm like, drink some damn water. Like,
No,
but
man, it's important.
but I think the reason is, and this is actually something that I do a lot with my clients, is this is where we start with them. If are you drinking water? Like, are you a dehydrated house
Mm,
plant? Because most people are chronically dehydrated. Most people are not getting enough water. And that leads to all kinds of challenges, both physically and mentally and emotionally. And so when somebody's dehydrated, no wonder they're having a hard time sleeping or thinking or doing or whatever the case may be. So that's always the very first thing that I go to is, am I drinking enough water? And if the answer to that is yes, then the next thing that I go to is going to be, for me, I think it's similar to what you're doing, but I very much prefer to have a journal with that time. So, because
mm.
for me, and for a lot of the clients that I work with, the journaling time, the things in our mind, they just kind of like loop over and over and over again. They just keep going kind of like back and forth over and over. And so the beauty, and I think we've talked about this before, but the beauty of the journal is that it kind of gets all of that out. And so it creates space in the brain so that we're not just kind of like playing things on repeat. So I think if the water is solid, that's going to be the number one thing that I'm going to do. And
Well,
I know
not
that
physically solid, right?
right, not physically solid. If that's the case, then you're chomping on ice. But if you were doing a good job with your water intake, and for me, like that time with the journal and that time, that is a form of meditation. And for me, especially now, like living in a place where I can breathe the air, doing this outside in nature is key.
Mm,
And, I feel like there are a handful of things that are vitally important for us as light workers, which I'm going to guess if somebody is attracted to this podcast, if somebody is listening to this, they are also a light worker. And all that really means is somebody who is intending to hold steady the light, somebody who is intending to connect with that love, that divine, that universal energy, and bring it out into the world. And so I think a quick, easy list, and I know this is something that some of the guides that we work with give us during our earth healing group. And it is seek out like minded people, so other high vibrational people, spend time in nature. And that includes walking barefoot. Something about, earthing really changes that ionic composition of your body. And it is a very huge help, especially when you aren't feeling fertilized or watered. Um, Eat high vibrational foods. So, whole foods, things that hold a high frequency. Eating McDonald's is not really fueling your body with something that's going to serve you. And we actually ate McDonald's on the way up on the move, and it's the worst. I remembered why we don't eat it. It was so bad. And like, I paid for it for days afterwards, like you can feel a difference. Um,
mm.
and so I think those are some like super basic things to start with. Yeah.
Yeah, I especially like the getting out in nature. I mean, I totally agree about the water really serving our base needs as a body that functions. For me, that water is definitely sleep. Like
Mm-hmm.
one of my first questions, I'm all out of fucking sorts today. It's like, okay, how much sleep did I get? Because I know
Yeah.
when I don't get my required amount of sleep, my brain is just like on a tight string.
Mm-hmm.
It's way more chaotic. It's way more reactionary. My body isn't reacting to things in the same way, and so that to me is the physical thing that really affects me. I know if
Okay. Yeah.
I'm don't get enough sleep for a few days, I think it's way more easy to carry stress when you're tired as well, both in the
Yeah.
mind and body, and really
Yeah.
hold on to that in ways you don't realize.
Yeah. I
But
think you're right.
taking care of those base needs is super important. And you might be able to hear my cat sprinting around the house
It's
right now.
totally
She's
fine.
got the zoomies. But the nature thing, I also totally agree with, and I'm not always great at it.
Mm,
I'm someone I want to get out in nature more, but I don't make the time enough, and I need to do that more. And I need to find a good like local nature spot that I can just go and
Yeah.
hang out and be in and, you know, sink my feet in and such. And it is I always feel better when I am out in nature.
Mhm.
You know, it always recharges me, but I don't give it the time that I should. And I think that's
Gotcha.
a good note to touch on for sure.
Yeah, there's something about it, and for me, I've always been really drawn to the water. I feel like I don't know. Can you hear the birds in the background? Like, look, we're
I
bringing nature
can.
to you.
It's wonderful. It's beautiful. Yeah.
I'm like, oh, all the windows are open. Yeah, so you can hear the motorcycles and the birds and all the things. It's meditating in the marketplace. We're just bringing it on in. um, no, so I've always felt really, really drawn to water, and it's always been very cleansing to me.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I found living where we were living was that, you got to take what you can get sometimes. So, really anything, like find a tree and give it a hug. Like, if you don't have a ton of nature where you are, like anything will do. Spend
Yeah,
a few
even just
minutes.
plants around the house really
Yep.
makes a difference for me, you know,
Yep.
just waking up and seeing greenery, seeing alive things and even like feeling them, you know, the life they have to them and the care you give them, you
Hmm.
know, you feel it. I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah, my teacher taught me how to see auras on plants. So I can still to this day see an aura on a plant better than I can on a person. But they do, like, they've got this like beautiful light energy, and you can't help but to lift to their frequency, when you're around them. Which I think is like the same thing when you find somebody who's joyful, like people are really attracted to joyful people. Like they just want to be around them because it feels so good. So I think whatever people, or now don't be an energy vampire, but don't like latch onto somebody and like suck up their energy, but like whatever people we can be around, whatever plants, whatever nature, anything that is that high
Yeah.
vibrational, it helps us to lift and kind of stay in that raised frequency.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it comes down to two, you know, again, finding whatever that is for yourself, you know, trying out
Hmm.
all the different methods and seeing what really recharges you, what gives you that sense of spaciousness, that sense of peace, that
Hmm.
sense of love and joy and excitement for life again. And even something like this, having these conversations, like being able to sit down and have conversations like this is
Yeah.
awesome for me because I know in my personal life I don't, you know, have as many friends nearby that, you know, I talk to about spirituality type stuff. So even
Yeah.
conversations like this are really recharging. So, you know, just try everything, you know,
Try it all
there's so
once.
many
Yeah.
you know, there's so many religions and modalities and whatever out there, and you know, people think, oh, this is the one, or you got to do this, be like this. No, fucking try everything and see
Many
what works for
paths.
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's how my metaphysical library ended up looking so robust, because I tried this and I tried that. I'm going to learn about this. I'm going to give that a little go and see how this does
Yeah,
and see how we like that. And I do think that, we've all got our own, we're all like combination locks, and we've got our own combination for what like does it for us. But I think, if you're feeling burnt out or tired or stressed or unresourceful or non-creative or any of those things, I think, being willing to say, okay, I'm not where I want to be right now. What's the next positive step that I can take to help lift my frequency? And so I think this is where like working with your intuition on a regular basis is really helpful, because it does help you kind of bring in the combination that's going to be right for you. It's like some plants like this fertilizer, some plants like that fertilizer, and you as the tom plant might need more nitrogen than I do or whatever.
I'm big on nitrogen. I'm a big nitrogen guy. Oh, but 100%, and it really starts with that checking in. Like, I
Yeah.
think everyone needs to set aside a little time whenever to check in with yourself and really
Hmm.
see how you're feeling. It
Yeah.
it sounds so silly, but when we're doing so much, we really don't know how we're feeling. We're being bombarded by sensations, we're being bombarded by, you know, actions, by
Hmm.
the doing, by the idea of the future, that we're picking up on so many different emotions, thoughts, sensations, and you know, it's kind of like a rebound. Like we only feel it when it bubbles up to such a point that it overtakes our current doing, right?
Yeah.
But it's a different thing to sit and check in with yourself and really feel all the emotions you're feeling. Really sit down, listen to your thoughts for a minute. What am I thinking? Why am I thinking like this? And
Mhm.
and noticing, okay, where am I at right now? Like that's a huge first step, and it's tough because we're not even taught to take the time to do that,
No. No, it's wild to me that like we don't get taught meditation in school. Like all the crap that I learned in school that I have not used, and I'm almost 40. I'll be 40 in a couple months. And like I haven't used it since I was taught it, 30 years ago. I think that's wild. Whereas something like meditation, man, look, can you imagine like if we'd been taught that as kids, how much, I don't know. I feel like everybody would be so much more chill.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, thankfully, there's much more of a push to it now, and it's kind of there. You
Hmm.
know, there's a release from some of the religious ideologies that people associated with it, and not that that's a
Yeah.
bad thing, but just that it's becoming secular as okay, this is a tool for us to use to
Yeah.
to be with ourselves. And I
Hmm.
think it is really important. And school unfortunately doesn't teach life, like how to live, how to be skills, and
No.
it's a very important one. you know we're all humans and we're all on this journey of life, and so much of life is how we are, how we show up, how we be in the world, and yet we're taught nothing about it, and even taught to ignore it in some ways, like, oh,
Hmm.
you're feeling upset today, quiet
Too
down,
bad.
sit in the back. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Shove it
And
down. You're
so
fine.
and
Huh.
so yeah, it is a lot, but it is important, and hopefully something that can continue to be taught. And children, I think, are so ripe for it. I mean, they have like an ambient awareness that they can use, and they are really observant, and they pick up on
Hmm.
so much more than I think we
Yeah.
often think. And so teaching them this ability will not only help them realize, oh, okay, this is why I'm feeling this. Or A, first, like, this is what I'm feeling. And
Yeah.
then B, like, oh, this is maybe why I'm feeling this. But then also, you naturally then become more empathetic and understand why others are feeling the way they're feeling.
Hmm.
And that empathy is so powerful for both that child and anyone they interact with,
Yeah. Yep. My bestie in California, she's got two little kids. They're like 3 and 5. And she's been teaching them. She's a breathwork coach and a yoga instructor. And so she has taught them yoga. And so it's so cute to like watch them do little kid yoga.
That
And
is
she
cool.
she also has taught them to breathe. So when they start having toddler temper tantrums, because they all do, like, they're little toddlers, they're
Yeah.
little tiny people with these giant, massive emotions. They have no idea what to do with them. That's what parents are for, right? So, but it's so cute to watch. Like, one of them will start to have a meltdown, and she's like, "Hey, let's breathe," and they actually do it. And like, it's cool because you can see their energy shift. You can see that's like, I get adults in my sessions, and they're like, their nervous systems are completely out of whack because they've gotten into fight or flight and they've not gotten back out of it. They haven't gotten back into the rest and reset, which one of the ways to do
Yeah.
that is through deep breathing. And most of us, I think we've talked about this before, but most of us aren't actually breathing, know? So that's
Wild.
a good place too.
Yeah.
I'm surprised neither one of us mentioned that, but hey, don't forget to breathe.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. Deep breathing and noticing how you're breathing
Yeah.
even throughout the day. Like, am I holding my breath? Oh, so often I realize, like, oh wait, shit, I'm holding my breath right now. Like, why? Where I'm just taking like these shallow breaths, and
Hmm.
you instantly, feel the difference when you're able to shift your breath and do those,
Yeah.
relaxing deep
You're like,
belly breaths, and
look,
able to
I'm
unclench your butt.
yeah, unclench your butt. You always unclench your butt and oxygenate your blood.
Exactly. That's what
Like
my
of
doctor
our billion
says.
listeners, like half of our billion listeners just relax their butt cheeks. Good job, guys.
Salute. I salute you.
Butt cheek clenchers unite. And just to be completely clear, I am in that club as well. Like I catch myself too. I think we all do, where we're holding
Yeah.
on to stuff.
Yeah.
That's why, it's interesting because when I'm working with clients, I do find a lot of people have digestive issues, and a lot of that comes from
Mm,
gripping, right? Like that when you're
yeah.
gripping energy, guess what else you're gripping? You're gripping everything in the
Yeah.
physical body as well, So there's definitely a correlation between, your energy and what your physical body is doing, which is why,
Oh,
it's one of the
absolutely.
indicators that
Yeah.
makes our work so much easier than it could be. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
Mm.
like for me, anxiety, I get in the stomach. And when I was at my like most
Hmm.
anxious and when things were really crazy in my life, like I literally got a stomach ulcer from it. The stress,
Yeah.
like the literal
Hmm.
energetic, and physical stress that it manifested as an ulcer and digestive and not a fun time. Don't recommend it.
No, no. That happened to me when I was like younger. I think I was like 19 when I got an ulcer, which if you look at like, we're not going to go into it, but if you look at all the crap that was going on in my life at the time, it made a whole lot of sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
I
later
thought you were
on,
gonna say when you look at the ulcer, like
oh,
medically, like it's like, yeah, don't look that up. It's definitely not
no, you
good to
probably, that's
look
not
at.
something
It's
to
not
Google.
pretty.
No, but later on when I was working through some other stuff, it was interesting how it manifested physically as autoimmune disease. Because when you look at
Mm,
autoimmune, that's about like the body attacking itself. And like that's literally what it is, like with an autoimmune disorder, is your body is attacking itself. And so for me, it took like, okay, this is not the cause, this is the symptom. So I need to go back and look at the root cause of what's creating this energy and what's causing me to manifest this physically. And I think in that case there was a lot of like attacking myself, right? So when you think about it, like, yeah, it makes sense. So if you are emotionally and mentally attacking yourself, it actually makes a whole lot of sense that your physical body would follow suit and say, cool, we're all attacking her. Like, let's attack, you know? And so there was definitely a lot of work to kind of move through that. But, there are a lot of people that I'm sure you come across too, a lot of clients, a lot of people that I come across, the people are holding on to so many ailments. And all of that has an energetic root cause. Like all physical dis-ease is a result of inhibited soul life, which is just distortion, denial of the divine. So there's a
so
random.
do you find that when you were able to work through that the autoimmune was worked through as well, that was helped as you worked
Yeah.
through
Yeah. I was
the
actually breaking
energetic
out in
stuff and
hives.
personal stuff?
Like,
Oh man.
yeah. Yeah, I was breaking out in hives like every day, and it was so, so uncomfortable. Anybody who's gotten hives, you know how bad that is, like how annoying that is. But it was that was the number one symptom, and then I was getting a lot of swelling and a lot of pain, a lot of pain in my
Mm,
joints, a lot of inflammation there. And so yeah, the more I work through that, the more those symptoms go away. And I can tell when I start slipping and when I start falling into old patterns because I wake up really creaky and I will start to have like a hive outbreak and I'm like, okay, wait, like this is not the
yeah.
energy we're trying to bring to this. No, thank you. And then I can kind of catch it a little sooner. But I think as I continue on the path of working through that energy and eating high vibrational foods and doing all the things that I know allow me to flow energy in the most life enhancing way, then I think that those things will continue to get better and better.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that.
Fascinating.
I think so as well. I
Should we pull a
mean,
card?
just taking care of yourself in all the ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, we should pull a
Do the
card.
things.
100%.
Okay. All right. So,
So do you have a question?
um, should we just see what we get?
I have a question. I have a question.
Okay.
So I'll go first this time. You went first
Yeah,
last
you go
time.
first. Okay.
Oh wait, did
I was.
no, I went
I
first
have no
last time. You
idea.
go first this time. You go
Eh?
first this time.
Okay, so I don't have a specific question for me. Like I feel like I've worked out all of my questions. Like I had some earlier this
Beautiful.
week, but they just kind of like, yeah, relax. Take time to rest and rejuvenate. That was the answer.
Mm.
So I'm going with that all week. But I guess what I can ask for is what is the next positive step or message to come out for us and those who are listening to this episode. How about that?
I like that.
Okay. So let's see what we get. And are you using the same deck every time?
I have been, just because I only have one deck, so that
Oh,
makes
okay.
it an easy choice for me.
It does.
But you can switch it up as you choose, as you so
All right.
please.
Well, I didn't switch it up today, but maybe I will next time. This is still the Wisdom of Avalon. This I've had
Nice.
this deck for I don't even know how long. I've had it for quite a while. Like you can tell by the cards. They're well loved. Okay, so let's see what we get here. Okay. Ooh, we have the Fire Fairy. So this is about
Oh
creative
yeah.
action and optimism. And I really
Ooh.
like this. And when I think about this card, and I'll read it too, but when I think about this card, I really think about like inspired action. So there's a difference between waiting to do things and waiting to do things from a place of inspiration. Like I don't think it's
Mm,
procrastination. Does that make sense?
yeah. No,
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
I'm very much on board with that.
Okay. Yeah. So like I don't think that we just sit around and do nothing. I think that if we, want to whatever, then, when The Secret came out, I think people were confused. They're like, okay, I'm just going to imagine that I have everything that I need and sit on my couch and wait for it to come to me. And I don't think it actually works that way. I think that it also requires inspired action on our part. And so I think that when we're tired and run down and we're trying to push to make things happen, I think that's different than creating the space for ourselves to rest and rejuvenate, and then allowing ourselves to be in that flow state to receive that inspiration and then taking inspired action. So I feel like this card is in
Absolutely.
alignment with that. And I'll read it and we'll see what. Yeah. Okay. So the Fire Fairy sparks ideas into action. She rules the flame of creativity and encourages you to move quickly. She is also the voice of happy optimism, showing you signs, signals, and omens to support your dream. The Fire Fairy gives you hope and courage and ensures that your dreams will come true if you simply act on them. When the fairy appears on your path, she gives you a gift, a magical sense of energy to help you complete any idea you have that serves the greater good. She signals positive outcomes for your efforts. The fire fairy brings you another gift, illumination. When you're in the dark about something, the fire fairy lends you her light so that your path will be filled with illumination. All things come to light quickly when the fire fairy appears. So,
Mm,
hmm, sounds
I love that.
like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, I think this applies to me too. I've been feeling tired, like I need to rest. And it sounds like I will be resting, but not for long. Sounds like
No,
good
but
stuff is coming.
I 100% agree with what you say in terms of inspired action. I think
Hmm.
part of doing is also preparation, right?
Hmm.
And preparation sometimes means learning, sometimes it means growing, sometimes it means having to do the stuff you don't want to do first, or
Hmm.
stuff that needs to be wrapped up and tidied up first, or even like you're saying, like resting and rejuvenating and personally returning to that space where you can act from an abundance of energy.
Yeah.
A sense of, and also just a sense of timing. I think, when we move into alignment with the universe, we're put on that divine timing, and our personality self is like, okay, now, do,
Yep.
do, 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 do. And the universe has a much better sense of sequence, of timing, of when things need to
Yeah.
be done and why. And moving into alignment with that sometimes and often means no, not on our schedule, not when we think it should be done, and doing, as needed and when it's time to. And I think that card very much relates to my question as well, but I want to let you finish your thoughts on it.
No, I think that now I'm curious and I just want to know what your question was and how it relates to it. We'll circle back
Well,
around
now
if
I
we
just
need
want to
to.
be nosy.
Yeah.
No, So I briefly mentioned it to you, but I have officially started my Reiki practice. So that's
Yay!
very exciting. So, speaking about timing, I've been gone for like already a few days in July, and I'm gone for another week next week, and it's a crazy month, but it just felt, I the second I kind of decided I wanted to do it and I wanted to find a space, I found the perfect space, and I was like, all right, fuck it,
Yeah.
like we got to do it,
Here
and
we go.
and I've officially, rented the space, setting up the business, the website, all that fun stuff. If you are interested, of course, hit us up on the YouTube comments or email us or whatever. I'm out here. I'm excited, but I'm very excited to start this practice. And so my question is, any guidance I may need starting this and embarking on this new adventure? It feels very much in flow,
Mhm.
starting this, and I really have no expectations. I just want to, be the best servant of the light, of the healing, of the movement of energy as needed. But I do want to, you know ask the oracle deck, because that's what we're here
Yeah.
for. So
I love that. And I think you're totally right that this card is absolutely in alignment with your question. The optimism of, hey, you know what? I'm showing up and I'm trusting, I'm surrendering the outcome, and I am taking the inspired action. Like you said it yourself, as soon as you decided yes and you put it out there, the perfect space for you to open your practice made itself
yeah,
known to you. So,
really.
it sounds to me, and my read on this anyway, is that you already are very much in flow and in alignment, and you've already very much surrendered to the outcome, or surrendered the outcome to this endeavor. And I think it's going to be a beautiful experience for you and the people that you're working with. That's our neighbor who likes to, he's retired. He gets to go on his bike 100 times a day.
Maybe that's his meditation practice. I love
Probably.
it.
Like bugs in your teeth, wind in your face. Like,
But no, thank you for that, Carly, and I am excited, and excited to work with people, and have this new experience. But
yeah.
let's pull a card and see what the universe says.
Yeah.
Ooh, interesting. I got guidance. I've
Oh,
yet to see this
nice.
card. This is a cool looking
That's
card.
beautiful. Yeah.
Guidance 33. Okay,
Oh,
this is interesting. Good number. Okay, guidance. Guidance is all about learning to communicate with your soul and discovering and manifesting your purpose. Ganesh is worshipped and adored by the Termuthis, or the Trinity of Hinduism, which is made up of Vishnu, Shiva, and Brahma. The story goes that during the period of dissolution, the water and wind were demolished and the earth evaporated. Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva wandered the earth to determine what was causing this dissolution. The gods discovered a huge aura of light where Ganesha was enshrined. The Termuthis immediately bowed to Ganesh in reverence and began to worship and praise him. They requested that Ganesh bless them. Ganesh entrusted the gods with the the Ganesh entrusted the gods with three separate duties: Vishnu, the preserver; Shiva, the destroyer; and Brahma, the creator.
hmm.
Guidance is based on communication. The soul can send you messages through symbols, synchronicities, hunches, sudden inspiration, dreams, and even direct channeling. Conscious, Consciously connecting with your guides, heightening your psychic abilities, and fine tuning your skills to be present and to pay attention are all important parts of learning to receive guidance. As you open up, your soul begins to communicate with your inner purpose for this lifetime to you. When you learn to hear and recognize its promptings, your life starts to take on a magical quality. Remember that you can ask Ganesh to support you in creating a raised awareness. Make a point to look at spirituality from new perspectives that may be unfamiliar to you. Be willing to talk to people whose experiences and beliefs are different than your own. You may need to move out of your comfort zone in order to do this. You will be all the richer for it. If you are concerned about getting true information about your personal life from a psychic or intuitive, You can prepare by asking from your heart to receive information that is of your highest good. Be sure your motivations are pure. You can ask the psychic to channel the words that your own soul wants you to hear for further growth. Rely on your intuition and your inner knowledge rather than your intelligence or conscious mind. Watch for synchronicities and opportunities. Trust your instincts and pay attention to the messages that turn up from a variety of sources. Be attentive to your dreams. You may want to keep a dream journal. Synchronicities are likely now. It is possible that a pleasant surprise will be coming your way soon in regard to your work. This could even be a new job opportunity. The gods Vishnu, Shiva, and Brahma may represent the different male energy in your life. Engage in the energy of men in your life or in the energy of the Termuthus to assist you with the task at hand.
Hmm. That's really fascinating how it's talking about the masculine energy, because I feel like the fire fairy, fire is also a very masculine action oriented energy. And I find that fascinating because the earth healing group that I'm in, we met this past Sunday, and it was about the feminine energy on the earth, and we worked a lot in
Mm.
the next earth expansion of feminine energy, which is all about bringing a balance between the two. And so I just find it curious that we're both of our cards are focusing on masculine energy. Why is that? Ah, okay. I see. Okay. So really we're both here because I find it fascinating because your card actually tapped into a question that I didn't really realize I had until you were reading the
Mm.
card. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. I've been wondering about that the last few days. So in this new place, I'm like, well, what am I doing? Like, what am I doing for work? Like I'm working with my clients and stuff, but I feel like that's not all I'm doing, like I feel like there's more coming. Um, and so that I feel like that kind of answered my question too, bringing in the inspiration, just being open to the opportunities. But I think, so the question was, what's the deal with this masculine energy while the
Mm.
earth is expanding in her feminine energy? And the answer to that I just got is about bringing in a balance between the two. And so a lot of us have a tendency to be either way masculine or way feminine. And, the masculine works until it doesn't, the feminine works until it doesn't. And so when we bring a nice balanced mix of both of those, then it seems to always work. Right. Because there are times when the
Mm.
masculine, the going, the doing is the appropriate thing. And there are times that the feminine, the reception, the intuition, the flowing is the appropriate thing to do. And I think that it goes back to it's a dance where we kind of, flow back and forth between the two, bringing in whichever is the most appropriate at the moment. So sounds like we have some things to do.
Yeah, no, and I really like that card as well. It, especially recently, that has been a big focus of me, of tuning into the intuition, tuning in
Hmm.
to the spirit and what I can feel, and the synchronicities. Like that, my dreams have been very expressive lately in
Hmm.
terms of like giving me guidance and speaking to my reservations or fears, and also just synchronicities in life, and like I
Hmm.
said with the office, like literally finding the perfect office really the second I said I wanted to. And uh, I think for me that really resonates as this moment in time in the journey is
Hmm.
aligning, and that kind of feels like my desire too. I want to move toward this place of pure alignment to flow in terms of the universe, in terms of spirit, and aligning to that divine
Hmm.
timing, knowing myself in eternity, and yet doing as needs to be done.
Hmm.
And it feels like that's been the lesson for me the last couple weeks. And I like this card continuing to move into that. And especially with this new practice, I think that
Hmm.
feels so relevant.
Yeah. And as a healer, like as somebody I was thinking about it this morning, and I feel like I don't love the word healer. I like the idea of being an energy artist instead, because,
Mm.
whether you're a Reiki practitioner or whatever modality you practice, and I practice a variety of modalities, the healing happens by the person receiving the healing, like it's a co-creative experience where they are an active participant. And I was writing about this a few days ago too, but as far as our role in that, like our role is really the facilitator. And so that's why I think I like energy artist a little bit better, because that's what we're doing. We're noticing the energy that's there, and we're bringing in universal energy to help people flow at their highest frequency that's possible. And the way to be the best energy artist that we can be is to work with our intuition. It is to, ask to be in divine time, because, the healing session is never about what we want or what we think is appropriate. It's, it just isn't. And I
Yeah.
can have an idea of protocols that would be a good fit for somebody all day long. But when I tap into the energy and we tap into the higher part of them, we might find that it's something completely different. We might find that it's something completely different with what they said they wanted to work on that day,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like
Absolutely.
having that really strong relationship with your intuition is what allows you to be a more effective energy practitioner. So it sounds like you're like right on time, like I love this for you. And I have to say, as your teacher, I'm very proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. You've been a
Yeah.
wonderful teacher, so that speaks to you
Thanks.
as well.
Thanks.
Any success of mine. But I do agree with that. And it's funny how realizing, connecting with your intuition isn't also as fancy or as crazy as one may think.
Oh,
A lot of it is just moving the clutter out of the way, letting go of the
yep.
fears that you aren't connected, or that you don't know, or that,
I'm going to
you
do it
aren't
wrong.
allowed to have
Yeah.
that connection. Yeah. Or you're going to do it wrong. And getting rid of the clutter of saying, okay, this is how it should be. This is how it should be. Do this now. They need this, you need that. And really it's about, moving out that clutter, bringing it out to the recycling bin, appreciating what it did for you, and then, but letting go of it
Yeah.
and allowing the space, giving the space for the intuition, for the divine, for the other energies to come in and to be receptive to that. And receptivity is huge there.
Yeah. Um, the other thing that I think is really important when it comes to tapping into your intuition is I spent a really long time worrying about whether or not I was crazy and making it all up. And that's an occasional, like,
Yeah.
old fear that still comes up. I actually had that come up a couple weeks before we moved. I don't remember what I was doing. Oh, I was getting ready to go to Florida and meet a bunch of women and do this group meditation sound bath. And I don't know what happened. I was like sitting on the couch one night, and then I all of a sudden like freaked out that I was like, you're making this all up. Like, you're just a crazy person, like blah, 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 whatever, whatever. And at the end of the day, I was like, okay, well, even if I am making it all up, it's really helping a lot of people. But, it's fascinating. Like, and I think that I'm not the only one who's had that fear of, oh no, this is weird, And
Oh
so I would
yeah. Every
invite
day I have
anybody.
that.
Yeah. Well, it is weird, Like, this
Yeah,
is
no,
way
it
outside of
is
what
weird.
society expects, like we're moving outside of the known, which is why, if we're going to bring this back to where we kind of started here today of, yeah. And if you are going to expand like this, you have to allow yourself to move outside of the known. You have to allow yourself to enjoy the new landscape, even though it's not like the landscape that you've been seeing. And I think that, diving
Absolutely.
into trusting your intuition is very much in alignment with that and is very much the same. So
Yeah.
give yourself permission to be weird. Give yourself permission to, to move into that divine flow, even if there's a little bit of fear about, oh no, this is weird.
No, absolutely. And that has been a big part of it. I always like to think about it. Discernment is great and necessary. And
Hmm.
it's good that you don't sit down and start word vomiting and pretend, you're the new channel for, Allah or whatever. Like, that's not helpful for anyone, right?
No.
So, like, to be able to have discernment as to what's happening, what you're doing, and where the energy is coming from, and you know, that sense of discernment and healthy, you know, skepticism is a little hard, but you know, healthy skepticism in a way is good and helpful. And
Yeah.
actually, you know, I was just talking about the story of Thomas, which I really love, the disciple of Thomas. I was just talking about this with my girlfriend, but you know, it was always funny to me, like the disciple Thomas. Obviously, we share a name, so
Yeah.
there's always some resonance there. And you know, for the longest time, I was upset because I was like, "Oh fuck!" Like you know, I share the name with the dude who's known for doubting, like doubting Thomas. His whole thing is that he doubted that, you know, Jesus was resurrected and that was him. And later in life, I learned this story of how when Jesus told the disciples, like, "Hey, I'm going to, I think it's Galilee, and I'm going to die. I'm going to be crucified." You know, the first thing Thomas said was, "Okay, let us go that we may die with him." And to me, that's this
Mm.
incredible act of courage that no other disciple had of, you know, okay, we're coming and we're going to die right alongside you. Like, we love you. We're here for that. And yet he's known for this other like doubting, which I think, you know, seeing someone he loves die and then is resurrected and is in front of him, like, I think we're also allowed to ask the universe for evidence. And I feel like that's also like a part of the story, not this doubting, but us being allowed to say, universe, is if this is true, like, give me some evidence. Like, let me feel the holes on your hand if this is really you. If you're telling me, if I have the sense of intuition that this is where I need to move, like, give me a synchronicity, give me a sense of flow, you
Mhm.
know. And we're allowed to ask the universe. Or when it comes to teachings, the guides are always telling us, you know, it's known by experience. You're allowed to ask
Yeah.
for that experience. You're supposed to know through experience. And so I think that's also a important part. Is like, you need to be able to trust, but you're also allowed to have discernment, to ask for experience, to
Yeah.
have a real sense of knowing, a foundation in your own life and experience. And to me,
Mhm.
like, that, though, the experience has always been the most powerful thing. And
Yeah.
the experience of the teachings in my life and that integration is always the most beautiful aspect of it. And so I feel like Thomas gets a bad rep. And in fact, you know, he's a great disciple, 10 out of 10.
Would recommend.
Would recommend.
No, and I love, I'm totally in agreement, completely in alignment. And when you told me, like, throughout that story, I got these like wicked goosebumps, which is always a good sign of confirmation, you know? And I know, like,
Mm,
for me, I have appreciated the confirmation, you know, and sometimes it comes through my own knowing, and other times it comes through experiences with my clients and seeing how their energy shifts. And you know, there was something that you mentioned too that I wanted to, I guess, reinforce, but the idea of allow yourself to see the synchronicities. So, you know, our soul and the universe, we're always getting these nudges, these synchronicities, these things that line up for us. And it's really our job to be in a space
mm,
where we're
yeah,
open to seeing those things. Because even the
absolutely.
person who has terrible luck and is like, nothing is ever working out for me, there are synchronicities happening for them too. They're just not in the space to be able to see it and not in the space to be able to claim it and capture it for themselves. So I think that, you know, bringing it all back around to how we kind of started today, as far as like, you know, the self care practices and being a root bound pot, you know, it all ties to working with your intuition. And these things, they play off of each other, they work together. It's, you know, these are parts of a bigger whole. And I think that, I don't know. I think this is really good stuff. I love all this for all of our bajillion D listeners. And for
Yeah,
us too.
no, I'm glad you brought it all the way around. I think it does go all the way around. And you
It
know,
does.
so much of it is about, you know, the universe wants to give us more. It wants us to be in receptivity, in alignment, you know, exceeding our wildest dreams, and achieving what we're really, you know, what our true expression is. Like, the universe, God, source wants that for us, you
Yeah.
know. And it's about realizing that and recognizing that and stepping into that. I think it relates to all of our points today.
Yeah, I love this. This tied together in a nice little package that, like, we had no idea where we were going, but look at where we wound up. And I feel like
Absolutely.
sessions have been like that lately with people, like moving through different protocols. I'm like, I don't know why we're doing this, but I do it. And then like 70 steps later, I'm like, oh, I see why.
I
You're like, oh,
like that.
nice guidance there. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
But to be able
Yeah.
to hear the guidance, you have to create the space for quiet. Like you're talking about the meditation, the journaling, the eating high vibrational foods, the sleeping, the drinking the water,
Yeah.
like all of those things support us in tuning into the intuition, in tapping into it, into being in flow or in the upper room or in that space where you can receive inspiration. So there's your homework. How about that?
Oh shit.
Yeah,
Carly's giving him
we're gonna
homework.
yeah, we're gonna have homework today, right? So like your homework is to ask yourself, where am I needing to beef up my self-care practices? What are the foundational things that I'm not doing to support myself that I need to start doing, or that I need to start doing more of? Because, at the end of the day, all of our jobs, our number one jobs, are to get and flow. That's like the number one thing. And then try and do all the other stuff. And I think because of how we're conditioned with our doing society, we all try and do it backwards. And so that's really the homework here, is if you've been doing it from that masculine flow, which there's nothing wrong with it. We need both masculine and feminine aspects of energy. But if you've been doing it all from the masculine aspect, I'm going to ask you to bring in some more of that feminine aspect. If you've just been going and doing and running yourself ragged, take some time to pause, take some time to sleep and journal and meditate. And if you don't think you have time to do that, if you don't feel like you have time for a 5-minute meditation, you
Then
need to do
take
a 20-minute
10 minutes.
meditation. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Right. Like, I don't have time to do my morning pages. Okay, then you need to write twice as many pages, Carly. Like,
Yeah.
that's
No,
that.
100%. I like the homework. I do.
Yeah.
And I think bring joy to it as well. It's
Yeah.
it's easy for us to write that in as a new job or a new work we have to do, like must
No.
sleep now and must meditate. No, bring joy to it. Find the practice that gives you the space, that brings you the joy. I like the
Yeah.
homework. I'm
Yeah.
saying do it as well. So we're gonna
Yeah.
email every single listener, and you gotta send us what you did. It's definitely realistic.
There's going to be a quiz.
All right. Yeah. Quiz next week.
All right. Yeah.
Carly,
I
this was
love
so
this for
much
us.
fun. You tied it together perfectly. Incredible homework. Another great episode. Thank you for joining me. Thanks for having
Yeah.
me as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And thanks for doing all the legwork behind the scenes and like the editing and like putting all this stuff together. Oh, and I'm going to hold us accountable. I'm going to make a little announcement. We will be starting an Instagram really soon. Neither one of us
Oh,
knows how to use it.
yay.
Tom's too young and I'm too old. And but we're going to figure that shit out, and we're going to have some Instagram. So we'll be able to share that next time. And
Hell
as
yeah.
always, if you love our episode, like it, share it. What else do? You follow it, you subscribe to it, do all the things.
All of the things. All the things. Exactly.
Yeah. So that's all I got. You got anything else?
No, that's it. That was perfect.
Love it. All right.
All right.
We'll see y'all
Peace,
next time.
everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.